Hey, Smart Authors, welcome back to another episode of the Smart Author Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Malene Bendtsen of publishingrebel.com, and that's publishing-rebel.com. And we spoke about a bunch of awesome things, including how to write your book in 3 weeks instead of 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. How to write your book with intention so that the book is a gateway between your authority, expertise, and the services that you offer on the back of your book, and how we can kind of transition someone from being a reader of your book or a lead from your book into your services faster. We spoke a lot about launch marketing, Amazon bestseller campaigns, and a lot of how do we get other people to promote our book when it launches kind of strategies. So I do really think you'll get a ton of information around what you should consider, how you can write your book faster, how you can publish it and get a better result with your marketing after the book is actually out there as well. So I really hope you enjoy this episode, and I can't wait to hear what you think. Hey, Malene, thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm great today. Thank you.
So I had the pleasure of being on your show yesterday, and we spoke a lot of magic. And I'm very grateful to have been able to get connected. Right away, though, as we were talking, it became very apparent that we shared a lot of viewpoints on marketing books and even writing books. And that I needed to have you on the Smart Author Podcast, of course. So I would love if you can give everyone a quick background to yourself. I know you've got an MBA, so you have been to business school, and you kind of take your writing, publishing, and promoting perspective from that realm instead of just being someone who's a publicist or something like that. So I'd love if you can give some background and then, kind of your unique approach and overview to how you write, publish, and promote books.
Yeah, I am. I worked I started in accounting many years ago. So I come from a business background. Accounting in the 90s, it was IT. I taught how to use a computer. Nobody needs teaching in that anymore. And then I went into being a head of innovation in an insurance company. And I did the corporate ladder, got all the way to being a director in a big insurance company in Scandinavia. And then I realized the more they promote me, the more I hate my job. So there was really less and less room for creative thinking. It was all about execution. And it kind of diminished my soul almost. So in the end, I quit my job, and I now call myself an ex-corporate. And I'm a recovering corporate. So what I did after that, I actually quit my job without having any idea what I wanted to do. And this story is relevant because what I ended up doing was travel. And I traveled and traveled. And at some point I thought I need to figure out a way to make money while I'm traveling. So I thought I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to go 5 months to Lima, Peru, to see if there might be any business opportunity doing something with Scandinavia. I'm Danish. And see if I could come up with some idea for a business there. I wanted to have my own business. I also looked very much into a digital business, online courses, and I was very fascinated about the opportunities there, but I didn't know what to sell. So once I arrived in Lima, I was only supposed to be there for those 5 months and then travel a bit and then go home after 7 months. But within weeks, I met a person who introduced me to publishing. And within a couple of months, I found myself the CEO of a self-publishing company in Lima, in Peru, covering Latin America. So I kind of learned book publishing from that dream of starting a business and travel the world. So I got to know how does this platform works. I worked with authors. We were a very small company, so I was working directly with authors, and I realized But we every guidance they could find online was about, it was difficult to write a book, and it was about fiction books or children books or poetry or something else. But very few people actually talked about that for entrepreneurs, publishing a book is a marketing tool. Selling books is not the end
Mm,
goal. We like to sell books, but it's not the end goal. The end goal is to make money on their more premium services at the back end of their business. Also, they are teachers, so their approach to writing is different. They have what I call organized knowledge. They don't need to
mm,
be creative to write a book. They need to have imagination and strategy, but not being creative as writers. They just need to do what
mm,
they are already doing, teach their subject. So teaching is more
mm,
important over writing skills. And I've been a teacher and in business, both in my more corporate jobs, but also I actually was an academic teacher for a while. um, so the teaching, I have an education in that, and I guess that's why I discovered that there's a different process that they can use to crank that book out, get it out of their head, get it into a book format. It's not about inventing a
mm,
lot of stuff. Even though some writers, they do become very much, they get clarity on their concepts while they're writing a book. So there's definitely that. Some books are more visionary, where they do research and learn something while they're writing. There's definitely that.
mhm,
But at its core, it's about doing the same thing they're doing from a stage or in online courses already. So when I got back to
I love that.
Denmark,
Yeah.
my inbox was full of people who asked me, "I know you worked with books when you were in Peru. Can you help me with my book?" And I thought,
Mm,
okay, I really thought I was going to look for a job, to be honest, because I was bringing back someone who needed a permission to stay in Denmark. And I thought that's going to be important, that I can show that I have a fixed salary every month and so on. So it was not my dream to do that, but I thought I had to do that. But we were heading into summer holidays, and I could see, okay, but it's going to be 3 or 4 months before I'm even going to get my first salary anyway. So why don't I help a few of those people in my inbox? And the very first
mm.
book took 21 days to write, and it became number one on Amazon in less than 3 months. So I thought,
Wow.
okay, so I can figure this stuff out. So I decided, let's see if we can do it again. And we've been able to replicate those results since.
Cool. Very cool. And 21 days, that's a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
I just listened to an episode from someone else's podcast just before you came on, and they said that their process is typically 6 months. And I've heard that some take 12 months, and I've heard that others take 24 months. And it seems like a little bit of a stitch up, considering Melina over here can help you write your book in 3 weeks. So I would love to know a little bit more
What I
about your
promised Chris,
process.
yeah, what I promised Chris is 3 months, because
3 months.
stuff happens, but there are definitely ways of making that period shorter. I called it first and foremost. I recommend retreats. It can be your own work camp, going away somewhere out of your regular content and focus, and make a commitment that I'm just going to spend those 3, 4, 5, 7 days on doing this. You can crank out, on my writing retreats, people crank out 200 pages in 5 days. So it's definitely
Wow.
possible. But in order to, we don't want to just produce a lot of text. What is the key to this is planning the content and
Mm,
starting with your marketing considerations from day one. So we have a very clear image of what kind of book are we actually writing. And it's not just at a strategic point of view. We look into what are competitors doing, which specific books are we going to knock off the pedestal if Amazon ranking is important. It's not always, but if it is, we look into what are the specific books that we're competing with, and how are we going to knock
mhm,
them off the pedestal, so that we can rank
mhm,
with this book. We look into search traffic. We do a lot of market research, but that can all be done within a week. So
mm,
once we have that, I call it, what we end up with is a fake book proposal. So we are acting as
Mm.
if we were to sell the book to a publisher, but I do recommend self-publishing, so we don't. But we use that framework. We don't start writing the first chapter and so forth, because that we don't need to prove that we can write in that context. But we want the clarity about what exactly is this book gonna do for the reader, and how I'm going to turn that reader into a customer in my business. What is my plan for doing that? Because that's the ultimate goal. Um,
Mm.
it's also about when we have that in place. It is also about uh, I call I call it front loading. That instead of having a rough outline and writing 500 words, 5,000 words a day, whatever the ambition is, that's the recommendation I often hear. But it becomes more or less random what comes out. And this is a strategic tool for your business. You want to know exactly how you're going to convert that reader into a customer. So we front load all of the decisions before writing a single word. We made every decision about what goes into the book. And the reason we do that is, well, it's definitely faster. It's a bit we get more specific about that the book is going to do once it's out. It's going to do for our business as well, for the reader, but also for our business what we want it to do. That's one part, but it's also about how our brain works. We have a very
Mm.
simplified left and right side of the brain. The right side is really good at making those decisions, keeping that overview of the entire book, the strategic consideration, visualizing what's the book going to be like. That's the right side of the brain. Producing text is the left side. And the
Mm.
problem is that they don't work at the same speed. And there's a third partner here, and that's our hands. When we are typing, we can think more quickly than we are typing, so the eye will start seeing words as images, which triggers the right side of the brain, and we get new ideas, and we start doubting, did I create the best structure? Or I could also do this, or I could do that. Then the left side of the brain starts thinking, okay, that's a great idea. Let me see where in the sequence, because that's sequential. Let me see where in the sequence I can do that. And people start scrolling up and down and rewriting, rereading. Every time they start over. And I usually say they call me when they're the third time at page 50. That's about the amount of text that we can keep in our head like that. So what
Yeah.
we need is an approach where we know this very specific outline. So we make an outline of like 15 to 20 pages before we even start producing text. Then we can either use AI, right, or use audio. And I actually often recommend audio.
Audio.
That some
Yep.
people who are just too unfamiliar with the speaking format, but it's very rare because they are already teaching the subject. So I instruct them
Mm-hmm.
in how to prepare, how to record, and then we can have something that comes quite close to an 80% of their manuscript in that recording. But it takes the proper preparation to do that. But that's why I call
Mm.
it front loading. That we do all of the hard work before we start producing text, um, and from there we can edit. We know it's not going to be perfect what comes out, but we can edit from there and get the published sooner. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why I'm a little bit concerned about publishing sooner is that entrepreneurs are busy. They have enough to do, and every hour they spend on their book is an hour they're not billing to a client. So we don't want to spend more time than is necessary on that book. We want it out there and working for the business as soon as possible. And that is a little
Yep.
bit different from if it was a novel I'm writing and I am a hobby writer. Then it doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
matter. But for the entrepreneur, they know that there are times, maybe seasons in a year, but there are times where they are super busy and they're not going to be able to work on the book. So we need to use those less busy times to really get somewhere, so that every time they start again, they don't have to start over. So getting
Mm.
to a first full draft very quickly, that's the key to publishing faster.
Okay. Yep. And I know you think that you should be a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to marketing as well. When do you
Yeah,
reckon marketing should start?
day one. It's both
Day one
about
of
uh,
writing?
well, the very fundamental, the page one in the marketing Bible is about knowing your customer, knowing what they're looking for, positioning, what's your product gonna do, all of that that I just talked about. That's marketing. That's not book writing. And I think it's very helpful for authors to separate that I'm gonna think first about this as I'm building a product. What's it gonna do for the customer? What's it gonna do for my business? Uh,
Hmm.
the other half of that is to start building an audience, and it's too late to start the day before building an audience. So I divide it in three, like an audio growth plan, the audience that I have, how am I gonna keep doing what I'm already doing, or am I gonna add some freebies, some live events, or what am I gonna do to build my own audience in the same organic, maybe paid, but usually organic way that I've been doing it before. So I'm gonna grow my audience, but also warm them up to my book. So thinking
Hmm.
about that from the get go is super important. Uh, Another thing is the network expansion plan, so that we think about how am I going to expand my network. First of all, knowing who do I already have in my network that's going to be helpful in my launch, and how do I want them to help me, warming them up to that. So I'm not just asking for a favor from someone I didn't talk to for 3 months or never talked to, but that I am strategic about having a list. I want to build a relationship with these people over the time that I am working on my book. So that when
Hmm.
I get to launch day, they will be eager to have them on my podcast, or join a summit that I'm hosting, or whatever it is I'm going to do for my launch. That we know who do we want to help us, and how are we gonna motivate them. Is it gonna be an affiliate strategy? Is it gonna be you rub my back, I rub yours, or what's it gonna be? Have a strategy for that, and then also an Amazon ranking plan. That's the third leg in this strategy. Is it important to rank on Amazon? It's not
Hmm.
always worth it. You might be in a category where competition is is difficult, and it's just going to take too much of your effort to get that bestseller stamp.
Hmm.
Is that even important to you? I have lots of clients who sell business to business. They sell most of their books to the companies they work with. That might be 1,000 book in one order. So is that more interesting than ranking and getting one by one? It depends on the business, on how much of a marketing platform they already have. It depends on their goals. There's no one way of doing it that's correct. I myself have published a book that I knew nobody is searching for this book. And it's about Web3 and how blockchain technology is going to change publishing. It was for two reasons. It was for me understanding what is going to happen in this industry, and
Hmm.
it was as a statement that my audience can see I'm a person who think about trends, and I have a creative mind, and I just want them to see the cover. I really don't care if they buy the book. So I actually chose, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing marketing for that book. I just want it on my website so that people can see that I'm a crazy person who does stuff like that. So if you're a person like that, you would love to work with me. Whereas the book that you can see behind me, How to Become a Nonfiction Author, that is definitely much more of a lead generator. So it's more specific,
Yeah.
put into a book funnel to generate leads and convert readers into customers for my author program. So that's some of the
Hmm.
conversations that we have as part of choosing what is going to be important in terms of marketing for my book. We do that from day one. Then we do more
Hmm.
effort or less effort during the first writing period. But as I just mentioned, that's not too long. So we will quickly get back to start creating buzz, posting online. I'm writing a book, telling the world, getting the accountability, getting the involvement from your current audience. what is it that they would like to be in that book, and building those relationships further so that they're going to help you when they launch your book. So all of those
Yeah.
considerations
Yeah.
is not something to start thinking about when your book is done. That's from day one.
Mm. Yeah. And yesterday we spoke about affiliates and having people promote your book. And so coming back to, having people quote unquote be like a launch army for your book, I think an affiliate arrangement makes sense, especially if you're putting together a book funnel and you're putting a lot of effort into selling the book on your own website. For me, in a book funnel, I would be 100% okay with giving 100% commissions to anyone who promoted the book, and that's for every single book offer in the book funnel. So, and the reason why I'm okay with that from my perspective is because I understand advertising. Typically, when we're running ads and we're driving people to a book funnel, it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us between $20 and $100 to get someone to buy the book. And so if an affiliate can come through and refer a direct sale to us, then that is typically $20 to $100 that we wouldn't have had to spend to get that one person to buy the book anyway. And so really the whole reason why we have upsells in our book funnel is so that we can offset our advertising spend so that we can pay less to acquire a customer or a book lead in this example. So to have an affiliate come through and refer someone right away and get paid to do so, we're essentially negating our ad spend cost to get someone to do that. And the money that we generate in the funnel is irrelevant in that scenario because it's now a $0 kind of cost to get someone to buy the book. So, I think that that's a really good strategy that you should consider if you are
Yeah.
looking to kind of build up this army of people who have your audience and can get you positioned in front of them. And it creates tremendous win-win scenarios. You promote my book, I'll give you up to $300 per person who buys my book, just depending on what they purchase. And that's a really good value proposition for anyone who,
Yeah.
is looking to do something like that.
And those who come from, some of the authors that I work with come from online courses. They're already thinking in digital funnels. They're already thinking in online marketing. But it's a huge opportunity to. There are quite a lot of experts who are public speakers, who are mostly business to business, in person training, seminars, workshops, and they have never thought about this opportunity. And it can feel overwhelming, but it's really just finding one small product that you can add aside of your book, besides your book, like an upsell from the book. You can get that funnel working, start getting data, and then build from there and keep adding to that funnel and increasing the amount of money that people spend when they are buying your book. Because honestly, nobody
Mm-hmm.
get rich from the book themselves. It's not a very profitable game to become an author and publish books. It shouldn't be considered a a product in that sense, but a marketing tool for something else. I like to say that your
Mm-hmm.
book is just a trigger for something bigger. So keeping that, having
I
that
like that.
as a kind of the North Star in your book strategy, I think that's important, knowing what that bigger thing is going to look like for you.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to launching, do you find that launch day is important? And how do you feel about the Amazon bestseller campaigns, and if they're actually needle moving for most authors?
You said to rank on Amazon, you need two things. Well, you need a great title, a great book, a great cover, all of that stuff, and then you need to find categories and keywords that people are searching for. The books there are selling, but they're not performing so well that you cannot knock them off the pedestal. So you need to kind of
Mm-hmm.
find poor performing categories. So wanting to rank in leadership, that's difficult. It's a highly competitive category, but there are smaller niches from there where you can definitely rank and get that bestseller ranking. But there are
Yep.
like 40,000 categories or something like that on Amazon, so it can be difficult to find the right ones. You need to know how to do that. But that's the key. That's one part of it. That you are able to teach the algorithm that when the visitor come to the bookstore, this behavior, when people type this into the search bar or they click through to that category, my book is the one you should show them
Mm.
at the top of the list, so you get the visibility and don't drown on page 367, but that you are on page one and preferably in the top three, maximum five, preferably number one, of course. So knowing and understanding that more technical part of it is important, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
important that you send traffic, either run ads on Amazon, Facebook ads that you send them to Amazon, or that you send your own audience, your social media followers, create events, go buy the book, go on other people's podcasts, buy it on Amazon, that you kind of send traffic. The launch day, most of those strategies you can apply at any time, any point in time.
Mm.
And you should think
Mm-hmm.
about it not as a sprint, but as a marathon. The
Mm.
creating a book is just the preparation for what you want to do with the book. It's not the
Yeah.
end goal. It's not the finish line. It's the beginning. It's the start line. Once you publish it. So by all means, celebrate the launch day. You did an amazing job cranking that book out, publishing the book. But from a strategic point of view, it's only important if you already have a lot of traffic that you can send to Amazon, because that's what it takes to rank and become a bestseller on Amazon. You need to be able to send traffic yourself, either paid traffic, organic traffic, or from your email list.
Yep.
That you can send that, and not everything at once, but even if you want to keep that position, you need to distribute it over some time, that traffic. So for if you have a large email
Yep.
list, maybe send it 25% for the launch, and then during the next couple of weeks send the rest of them there to buy your book. But
Mm.
I think it's important to realize that we all have a limited amount of resources and time. How much money are you going to spend? How much time are you going to spend? And how is that going to be worth that time? And also consider, but if I could spend a lot of time doing all of those marketing activities, or I could build a book funnel with just that one upsell product, and then spend my time on building a better product. If I don't have another backend product, I could spend my time building that instead um, of doing something else. So considering uh, your resources as well. Where am I best spending my time, not just for my book,
Mm.
but in my business? I think that's really important, because it's never launch day is just launch day. You
Yeah.
might miss out on a bestseller tag, but that doesn't mean that your book cannot be highly successful and you can sell thousands and thousands of books over the next 3, 5, 10 years, depending on how timeless your subject is. So I
Yeah.
don't really think that we it can be, it can definitely be leveraged and be utilized, that there is something that's a launch day, but it's not everything. And I think
Yeah.
way too much emphasis is put on that date. It's much more
Yeah.
important to build a book funnel.
Yeah. And I recently started working with Ryan Dice for his new book, Get Scalable,
Yeah,
and um, so Ryan kind of had that approach where he was essentially looking at the marketing and sales of his book from a marathon perspective,
yeah,
over the next 2 years, 3 years, and so on. And he candidly said, I don't care about being a bestseller. I want to come out, I want to swing hard, but I want to keep up the momentum as well. So for Ryan, it was, let's go on a bunch of podcasts as the book launches. Of course, that's a smart thing to do. So you can create some initial steam
yeah,
around getting the word out there. But he's definitely has his book funnel in place. is continuously advertising and marketing his book in that avenue. We're helping him with Amazon ads, so we're still selling 50 books plus a week. For getting books out there into the world. And ultimately his message was, I just want my book into the hands of people who need it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of authors, they'll come out of the gate, they'll try to do this bestseller campaign, or they will do it and succeed at it in potentially a vague niche or category on Amazon because they want that badge. And then after the campaign's done, the launch campaign, they kind of go, okay, cool, now what? And they just don't put any more effort into marketing it.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think we're all busy, and that's totally fair to take that into consideration. I
Yeah.
think where a lot of people fall short is that they don't realize that there's different activities you can do to continuously get your book out there. There's
Yeah.
things that you can do manually. There's things that you can do with leverage as well. And so, you can post every single day about your book. You can go on podcasts and do speaking tours and promote your book in those avenues. You can do book signings, things like that. And then on the flip side, that's obviously activities that are not leveraged and require your time and energy and effort to do. On the flip side, you've got the advertising perspective,
Yes.
and that's really
Yes.
where, like, what I specialize in regards to being able to take things off of your plate and make them time efficient in exchange for spending some money to get the results. And I think if you're someone who is like full capacity, I don't even have time to promote my book that's just released, then I would suggest like either looking at how you can advertise for yourself or looking at an agency like myself to actually do that on your behalf, so that you can really just focus on the things that you're specialized in, which is most likely going to be the coaching services and things like that on the back of your book that you're selling anyway. And so, long story short, to wrap this point up, is that I think that generally speaking, as long as you're doing some sort of effort or looking to progress in some sort of way to continuously talk and market your book, talk
Mm.
about and market your book, then that's better than 95% of authors out there.
Exactly. And time is the most important restriction for entrepreneurs. So using strategies like an advertised based book funnel that can keep working for you while you're doing that other stuff you need to do in your business, and then focusing on what I call discoverable content, like the long-term content, like podcasts, for example, building a YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
something that is not posting on Facebook means that if people, some 5% of your followers will see it and then it's gone. So that's a
Yep.
strategy that requires like continuous effort and investment
Mm.
of your time into making that work long
Yep.
term. But when you are every time that you're doing an interview on a podcast, it's a long term asset. It's gonna keep living out there. It's gonna keep being searchable for people, which is actually the what a book is, right? A long term searchable strategy. That people can find you and understand what you're all about. So focusing on those, on the discoverable content, the long-lived evergreen content, and the automated
Yep.
funnels is a very viable way for um, for entrepreneurs. One more thing about the podcast. What I love about that is that you can be even more strategic about that and consider, but on which podcast am I going to spend my time? I'm going to do that where I can build those affiliate relationships, where
Yeah.
it's not just about getting visibility for my book now, but it's about me and the host really building a relationship there, and we can keep coming up with fun things to do. So I might invite you, Chris, for a summit or something, right? So that I think that's a more
Hint, hint.
long-term strategy that's gonna help more than just
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And, um, anyone who's listened to this podcast for a number of time knows that most of the intention behind the show here is, of course, bringing tremendous value to everyone who's listening. but also creating awesome relationships with people like Malene and others in the industry, so that we can create relationships where there's opportunities for co-value to be given, essentially,
Yes.
me to give value to Malena's community and vice versa. And I think that it's probably one of my favorite networking strategies, period, because it can, if you got a podcast or you've got a book to speak about on a podcast, then you can kind of knock doors down and bypass gatekeepers and all that kind of fun stuff and get connected with some pretty awesome people.
Yeah, and I know what you. It's there's a really interesting thing there because many of those that I work with, they're not a fan of doing marketing. It's not. It's they are in love with the subject they teach. They are teachers at heart.
Mm-hmm.
They are when they're even if they're public speakers, they are still teaching from stage. They share knowledge. That's their passion. The marketing part is for many a little bit dreadful, but when you have a book and you get on podcast and you talk to people who are interested in the same things, they lighten up and it becomes fun doing marketing. So definitely,
Yeah.
maybe that's reason enough to write a book.
I definitely think it is, and I think that's a really nice topic, or to end this podcast on. So, Melina, is there anything else that you want to kind of mention? And if there isn't, where should people go to find out more about you?
Well, the website is publishingrebel.com with a hyphen. Um, yeah, that's really where you find everything. I'm quite active on LinkedIn as well. There's a LinkedIn newsletter that I actually recently launched. So more like in-depth analysis of what is it that Bestseller does, for example, what are author rights is the next one. So go
Mm-hmm.
very in depth with content there. So that might be a place to connect. And yeah, that's the two most important places, I think.
Okay, cool. So LinkedIn and publishing-rebel.com. We'll make
Yes,
sure that both your profile and your website is linked in the show notes. And thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
it has. Thank you, Chris.
Damn, what an awesome episode. If you've got a book that you're advertising or not yet advertising, and you want some book marketing advice directly from me, I'd love to set up a book marketing review with you. It's basically a 30-minute consulting session that you can get for free, worth $1,000, where we can basically dive right into everything that you're currently doing or not doing, and everything that you could do to sell as many books as possible according to your goals. So if you want to sell 100 books a month, 1,000 books a month, or anything in between, we can really help you outline a strategy to help you get there. To book your session with me, just click the link in the description below, smartauthormedia.com/chat, and you'll be able to book a time that suits you to go through everything with me so that we can help you sell some more books starting today. Look forward to speaking to you on the call.